good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my friends. Nova here for Yoga with Nova. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for showing up for yourself. I like to theme the classes that I've been offering online here, just because it's kind of a way for me to structure what I'm doing. Sometimes I have so many ideas and so many different themes in my head at one time that I have a hard time focusing them. So that's a way for me to help focus them. And I tend to go based on just kind of how I'm feeling that day. I think I've talked about this before if you've been with me before. So this week's theme is yoga for feeling good. And feeling good is subjective, right? It's dependent on you as a person and what feels good to you. Some people think using the term feeling good is a little too broad, and it can lead us to maybe things that aren't necessarily in our best good, like unhealthy habits. So this feeling good yoga is about doing things that are healthy, that help us feel good. But we really do things throughout our day, I hope, that feel good to us, whether they're healthy or not. We try to. Sometimes it feels good to sleep in. It feels good to take my time and sip my coffee in the morning. It feels good to read a chapter in a book that is inspiring and motivating to me. So this practice is dedicated towards the feeling good side of who you are as a human being. We want to feel good in our body. That means we want to feel flexible. We want to feel strong. We want to feel like we have nice posture. So think of those things as we're moving through our physical practice today. We want to feel good in our thoughts. So staying mindful of where our mind goes as we move through our practice. It is very easy to move into a state of criticism towards this isn't good enough, or I should be able to do this, or I used to be able to do this and now I can't do it anymore. That self-ridicule, just being mindful of that. And when you catch it happening, just put that wall up and shift to better feeling thoughts. Another phrase, I guess, that can be used to describe feeling good is feeling centered or feeling in alignment. So if those words speak to you, invite them in. Allow that to be part of your practice. So we'll begin with that intention of just coming to your mat today, coming to this practice time, whether it's your first or your millionth time, just with the intention of feeling good. Whatever that looks like to you today, whatever that would feel like to you in this practice. So with that in mind, I'm going to allow you to begin however you would like today. Some postures that might feel good for you today are seated. We typically begin in a seated posture. Seated, maybe with supports, a blanket. Another way that might feel good to you today is lying down. If you're feeling that you need a little bit more rest and calm, lying down on the floor, lying down on your back, lying down on your belly, however you see yourself lying down. It may feel good to stand and start in your mountain pose if you need a little bit more get up and go today. So I'll allow you to choose any of those postures that I described or one that comes to you on your own, and we'll begin there. So any position that you've chosen to be in, we want to make sure we can breathe. We want to make sure we can breathe fully. So shoulders and hips are in alignment, whatever that position may be, lying down, standing up, seated. We also want to relax our shoulders. So wherever you are, take a couple of full breaths. Nice big breaths in through the nose. And either out through the nose or the mouth. If you need a nice tension reliever today, out through the mouth might feel good. And then begin to just settle. Settle into your body. So noticing in whatever posture you're in, where you are drawn down into the floor, into the earth, where you are supported, where you're grounded. And we can close the eyes here as well to really feel into our body. Take that visual piece out and draw into our other senses, beginning with that sense of feeling. Feeling with our skin, feeling with our sense of where we are in space. And feeling our breath as it settles us. So that exhale breath really being a calming and releasing part of our breath. And just try to sit with that for a moment. Just sit with that awareness. Just taking in where we are right now and how we feel right now. And coming into that idea of feeling good. See if you can visualize or picture in your mind what it looks like when you feel good. It might be an activity that you enjoy doing, or a way of moving that feels good, or a place that just feels good to you. You can stay with one, or maybe just kind of let your mind float around into those feeling good places. What does that look like? And if you can, try to draw upon the thoughts you may have in these feeling good places. When you're moving in the way that feels good to you, when you're in a place that feels good or doing an activity that feels good, what are your thought patterns during that time? Do your thoughts feel heavy, or do they feel light? And then begin to visualize your yoga practice, your asana practice, the physical part of our practice. What does a feel-good yoga practice look like for your body? It can be things that are realistic, things you really enjoy doing, or maybe it's things that you wish you could do and you can just picture yourself doing them, because it's so easy just to visualize that headstand or that arm balance or that bind or that really intense stretch, whatever it may be. It's okay to play with this a bit, just visualize it. And wherever you have chosen to begin your practice, we'll bring our hands together at heart center and allow the tips of the thumbs to tap right into the chest space wherever they touch onto that heart space, just as a plug in and reminder to stay true to yourself, true to your body, and true to who you are and all that feels good in this practice. Beautiful. We're going to work our way into a standing position. So if you aren't already standing, we can find our way to meet there, standing on our mat, wherever you choose to stand. I have a mat that is symmetrical. It's got mandalas on it, half a mandala on each side and a mandala in the middle. That feels good to me. I like symmetry. I like when things look balanced, although it can lead to a bit of perfectionism as well. So it feels good for me to stand in the middle of my mat. It may feel good to you to stand at the top of your mat, maybe off your mat. Choose wisely and find your stance, your mountain pose. I like to rock on my feet when I first arrive here, so we can begin with that together, rocking up to our toes, back into our heels, Maybe staying with the feet flat on the floor and just shifting our weight, or maybe coming up and back and up, playing with the feet, getting that sense of grounding and stability into our practice. We can't build a house without a foundation, so we want to get that foundation down. And whenever you feel ready to come into stillness, we'll find stillness in our body here. Find stillness in your mountain pose and find some alignment. We're parallel, we're balanced, front to back, side to side in a nice tall and open shoulder mountain pose. Palms can face forward as a bit of a receiving gesture or a giving gesture. Just feel this stand. Feel this posture for what it is. Begin with those breaths again and keep those breaths flowing as we move through our practice, drawing in and releasing back out. Let that be your guide as we move. And we'll begin to add some movement. So let's just breathe in, raise our arms up overhead. And breathe out to bring our arms back down to our side. Moving at your own pace with your own breath, your own flair on the hand positioning and movement here. Palms can face forward, or maybe we can scoop up as we breathe in and press out as we breathe and release. Let's start to make that movement a little bit bigger now, raising the arms up, maybe a little bit higher than we did before. And as we come down, maybe extending the arms back behind us a bit more. So a little bigger rotation on the shoulders and keeping with a nice full breath. Beautiful. Next time we raise the arms up, we're going to hold them there. Allow the palms to face each other and relax our shoulders away from our ears, so that may make our arms come a little bit wider, and that's fine. We're going to find a sway side to side. So we want to keep our shoulders and hips facing forward, staying grounded from the hips down to our feet and allowing our torso to expand and open. So coming to a comfortable side bend here, moving with the breath. So we exhale as we lean to the side, inhale up, or whatever breath pattern feels right and good for you today. Whichever side we're coming into next, we can pause and hold here. The arms can stay extended, or maybe we can bring that bottom hand down to our hip and try to reach out and open a bit more. Just hold here for a few breaths. Invite some strength, some flexibility. And then breathe in to come back up and over to our other side. Maybe taking that hand down for support again. Reach out over the head and pause to breathe. And let's come back up to center. Arms can reach up. We'll bring those palms together and exhale our hands down in front of our heart, relaxing the shoulders. Draw them down away from the ears and draw the chin down towards the chest. Close the eyes here if you wish, just to take a pause and breathe. Staying connected to that heart space. Let's release the arms down and breathe in and out again. Arms reach up and back. This time bending the knees a bit as we swing the arms back behind us. We'll straighten the legs, arms reach up, and exhale, bending the knees, coming down. So little moving, flowing chair poses. We're warming up the legs, we're igniting our core and finding some fluidity and movement, some flow through our body. A couple more times, breathing in and breathing out. Good. One more time to reach up and exhale. Bend those knees and pause here. Coming into your chair pose, we'll take the hands behind and interlace our fingers. So coming into a chair with a little bind in our shoulders. Try to draw the knuckles down towards the floor. Engage the core, tops and bottoms of the legs. Find some strength in our lower half here and some flexibility through the shoulders and the neck. So a gaze that feels good for the neck. And then slowly start to straighten out the legs and fold forward, releasing the head down towards the floor. Come into your forward fold. Any variation on your forward fold that feels good. So we can keep those hands in a bind, or you can release the hands down towards the floor. Maybe you'll want to wiggle the feet a little bit wider and find a sway for your legs side to side. Either way, we're going to let the top of the head hang heavy down towards the floor. And we're going to work with this wherever we're at today. So the top of the head releases down. Maybe movement, maybe stillness. If the hands are still in a bind, we can release the hands down towards the floor. Take a nice slow breath in and slowly lift up halfway. Hands can come underneath the knees. We'll extend out through the top of the head, draw that belly in and lengthen the spine. Pause here. And then releasing down. We can bend the knees, plant the hands, and step the feet back to find our downward facing dog. Hands are shoulder width apart, feet are hip width apart. Find your alignment, your centering. And let the top of the head hang down towards the floor. So maybe some wiggles on the head. Open up the neck, open up the shoulders, maybe pedaling those legs. Maybe just pausing here and holding it still. And then we can drop those knees, come into our tabletop position. Shoulders are over our wrists, hips are over our knees, and our spine is long. So we're lifting our body away from the mat, pressing into the hands, pressing into the knees, and lengthening the spine. Top of the head extends forward, tailbone extends back. Just some movement with our gaze here. We're going to turn to look over one shoulder. And then return the head back to center. Turning the head over the opposite shoulder. And then returning back to center. A few cat-cows to drop the belly, lift the tailbone and chin, open the shoulders. And then cat pose, pressing into the hands and knees, rounding the back and tucking the chin. Moving back and forth with your breath, finding a flow and some nice movement to open up the spine, open up the muscles, and flow with our breath. And then back into a neutral spine. We're going to take one foot and kick it out to the side and roll ourselves over into a side plank. So in plank, our wrist, our knee, and our ankle are in a straight line. Our shoulders are stacked, and we're going to reach that top arm up. If you wish, you can extend both legs straight or stay here with support with that knee down. Take a few breaths here to feel strong. Feels good to feel strong at times. And then take that top hand, reach it back down to the floor, and return back to tabletop. Same thing on that other side. If we're using our foot down, we're going to kick that foot out, kickstand. Extend so wrist, knee, and ankle are in line. Stack those shoulders and reach up towards the sky or the ceiling. Find some strength here. Where do you feel that in your body? Where does it feel good to feel strong? And then take that top hand, bring it back to the mat, return back to our tabletop. Then we can tuck our toes and press back into downward facing dog. Any movements or wiggles that feel good here. Maybe stretching out the backs of those legs, arches of our feet as we pedal the legs. we're gonna find a nice deep bend in our knees, turn the gaze up towards the hands, and step those feet forward to come into a forward bend again. Nice slow inhale to lift us up halfway, extending out through the head. And then an exhale breath to roll ourselves back down. Ground through those feet and rise up to a stand. Arms can reach up overhead. And exhale the hands down in front of the heart. Pause here in your mountain pose again. Check back in with your breath and your body. And don't forget about those thoughts. Beautiful, let's breathe in, raise the arms up towards the ceiling, and exhale to fold through center. Breathe in to come up halfway, and breathe out to fold back down. We're gonna step that right leg back, turn and plant the heel to find our warrior one footing. Press down and lift up into our stand. So that back foot's at an angle, hips are towards the front, and arms can raise up. Let's relax our shoulders away from our ears and find our breath. Find our grounding. Find our strength. Taking an inhale breath here. And as you exhale, open to your warrior two. So turning and opening that back foot a bit, finding our shoulders over our hips, shoulders are down away from our ears, and we can gaze out over those front fingertips. Just pause here to breathe. Let's turn that front palm up, raise it up towards the ceiling for our peaceful warrior. Back arm relaxes, top arm reaches up or back, and keep a bend into that front knee. Just holding it still. Holding each posture for about 4 breaths here. Let's come back into our warrior two. Pause here again. Why the number 4? Good question. The number 4 feels balanced to me. Feels like the right amount of time to hold a posture in my body. Good, let's turn that front palm up. Reach forward. We can bring the elbow down to the thigh. Reach that top arm up and over for our side angle. Staying rested or maybe extending the arms if you wish to invite some more strength into this posture. Hold it for the breath of 4. Just working our way back to peaceful warrior from here. So keep those legs where they are. Breathe in to reach back up. And then begin to straighten that front leg, come into your stargazer. So a little bit more intense in our balance. Ground through the feet, legs stay active and strong. For those 4 breaths. On our next exhale, we're going to work down into our triangle pose. Front arm comes down, back arm reaches up, palms can face forward. Maybe turning your gaze up towards your top hand. Go down as far as feels good for you, that we can keep our alignment flat and open. If you start to curve down towards the floor, come up off of the posture a bit. It's not about reaching your toes. It's about opening. We're going to take that top hand here, start to reach it forward, bend into the front knee, and come to the ball of the back foot. We're in our runner's lunge. All of our toes face forward. Look like we're ready to step off of those running blocks. We're gonna plant that inside hand, take that back hand and reach it up towards the ceiling to twist. And 4, take that top hand back down. We'll step that front leg back and come into downward facing dog. Always optional to move through your vinyasas or your flows here, or maybe just coming into your down dog. Either way, we'll all meet here. And then find a bend into those knees, gaze out to the hands and step those feet forward, forward bend. Breathe in to roll the spine, come up halfway, and exhale to roll it back down. Ground through those feet and press down to rise up to a stand. Let's bring those palms together. And exhale, hands down in front of our heart. Pause again to check back in. Body, mind, and breath. Staying kind in those thoughts. Maybe even actively seeking good feeling thoughts. Let's breathe in, arms can reach up. And breathe out to fold through center, back down to our forward bend. Breathing in halfway. And breathing out to fold. Let's step that left leg back. Find our warrior 1 feet, so our back foot's out at an angle. We're gonna rise up and bend into that front knee. Relax the shoulders, steady the gaze, and come into breath. If it helps to count your breaths here, we're going to 4, and then open to your warrior 2. We're going to turn and open that back foot. Find our shoulders over our hips, our shoulders relax, face is soft, and a nice gaze out towards that front hand. Turning our front palm up and raising it up towards the sky. Let's relax into that peaceful warriors, keeping that bend in the front knee. A nice full breath and open body. And returning into warrior 2. Let's turn that front palm up, release forward, elbow can come down to the thigh. Our back arm will reach up and over for side angle here. Again, extending that bottom arm if you wish a little more strength and challenge in your practice or supporting your body. 4 full breaths. Next inhale breath, we're gonna swing it back up, peaceful warrior. Drop that back arm, reach the front arm up and open. And then begin to straighten that front leg, stargazer. Find our balance through our feet, strength and engagement through our legs. Soft gaze upward. On an exhale breath, cartwheeling our way down into our triangle. Again, just staying mindful of our alignment and the space we can create in our body in this posture. Ribs are open. Heart is open. And then taking that top hand, we'll reach it down and spin that back foot Find your runner's lunge. All toes are forward. We're gonna plant that inside hand and twist in the opposite direction. So raising that right arm up. Feel out that twist, that spiral in our body here. Maybe from that back heel all the way up through the top of the head. And then releasing that top hand back down to the mat. We'll step that front foot back, finding our downward facing dog or moving through your vinyasa flow if that's what you wish to do today. Wonderful. Finding a bend in those knees, gaze to those hands. Let's step those feet forward. Maybe they come a little further this time. Forward bend. And a breath in, halfway up. A breath out to fold back down. Root through those feet and rise up to a stand. Arms can reach up overhead. Maybe a little back bend here today if you wish. And then taking the hands down to heart center. Find your pause here. Just that moment to be still and to feel. Reaching up with the hands, a nice full breath in and a breath out to fold forward. Breathing in as we rise halfway. And breathing out to float back down. Right leg comes back again. Find your warrior one. Rooting down and rising up. Settling into your posture. Settling into your breath. And then opening warrior two. Find that same position again. We've been here before today. Might feel completely different moving through it again. Maybe we want to come a little deeper if our body's warmer. Maybe we're not. Maybe we want to take it back a little bit. Turn that front palm up and raise it up. Find your peaceful warrior. Maybe reaching back a little further this time. Maybe bending your front knee a bit more. And then returning to warrior two. Turning our front palm up and leaning forward, side angle. Pausing here, 4 breaths. Staying where you are if you can in this practice. We're repeating our sequence, so you may be jumping to that next posture, which can happen sometimes. All right, we're rising up, raising that front arm back again. And you don't have to remember what's coming next. That's what I'm here for. Just move along one step at a time. Let's start to straighten that front leg, stargazer. Activate the legs. And picture ourselves flowing forward into our triangle. Front arm down, right arm up. Open the body, lift off and open. Try to create as much space through that front leg and the torso as we can. And then take that top hand, let's reach it down, spiral ourselves down. Runner's lunge, and then right into that twist. Plant the right hand and lift up with the left. See if we can create space through the belly here again by lifting up and off the floor. And then take that top hand down to the floor, stepping our front foot back into our downward facing dog. An option here, if you decided not to move through your flows, maybe take that left leg up towards the ceiling for a 3-legged dog. And then we can bring the foot back to the floor. Bend through those knees, gaze out to the hands and step those feet forward. into our forward bend. Inhale to come up halfway. And exhale to fold back down. We're gonna rise, root through those feet. Come all the way up, hands come together. Maybe your little back bend here, and then bringing the hands down to heart center. Take a pause. Allow a pause. Invite a pause. And then breathing in, arms reach up. And exhale to come down, forward folding. Breathing in halfway up. And breathing out to come back down. That left leg's coming back. Find your warrior one and rise when you're there. Get those feet settled. Get them grounded. Get them strong. Try not to think about what's coming next. Just stay right here. Stay in your warrior one. And then open. Finding our way to open that back foot. Settle on in and feel that warrior two. There's a bit of ease that comes the more and more we move into postures. These repetitive sequences can really help us get into some happy places as we move here. Let's turn that front palm up and reach it up towards the ceiling. Find your peaceful warrior. And then return warrior two. Feel it again. Turning that front palm up, side angle. Let's lean it forward. Lift off of that front leg and extend through the top arm. Maybe it feels a little different this time. Maybe we're a little bit more open. Press down and come back to our peaceful warrior. Front arm reaches up, back arm relaxes down. Maybe dig a little deeper into that front leg before we press down and straighten it. Feel your body here. Feel from the bottoms of the feet all the way out through the top of that hand. On an exhale breath, finding that cartwheel to come down into our triangle. Lifting away from that front leg, we're opening and expanding. And then taking that top hand to spiral it down. Come back into your runner's lunge, planting that inside hand and reaching up with the opposite. Beautiful. Let's take that top hand down, step that front foot back, and maybe lift the right leg up towards the ceiling this time to find a three-legged dog. Maybe not. Maybe keep the foot on the floor, maybe moving through your flow. If that foot's lifted, let's release it down to the floor. We're going to drop to the knees, take them wide, let the big toes touch, and settle back into a child's pose. Relaxing through the body, settling here. And when you're ready, returning back up into a tabletop position. Wrists under our shoulders, knees under our hips, and cat-cow here, moving in and out through the breath, opening that spine, adding any additional flair into this movement. My body likes to rock forward and backward as I do this. Maybe it's circles. It can be anything. Anything that serves you and feels good as you move and open. And then we'll return back to a neutral spine. Come back into those side planks so we can take that bottom foot out to the side and roll to open either in a supported side plank or a full extended side plank with the legs extended. Take that bottom knee down today. This time, try and take that top arm and reach it out in front of you to lift the ribs, lift the hips, and open through the torso here. Let's take that top hand back down to the mat, return back to our tabletop position. And find that same posture on the other side. We can kick that bottom foot out, roll to open, finding our alignment, finding that lift off the floor, and then reaching the top arm over. Lift the ribs, lift the hip, find some space. And then return that hand back to the mat. Return back to our tabletop position and come back into your child's pose again. So knees can come wide, sit back, and settle into your child's pose. This time, maybe bringing the palms of the hands together and bringing the hands up behind the back of the head. Let the wrists release and let the shoulders stretch and open. Then we can release the hands back down to the floor. Lift the gaze to look out towards the hands. We're going to slide our way on down to our bellies. So let the hands glide up towards the top of the mat and come down into our Sphinx pose. So we're down on those hips, elbows are under our shoulders, and our gaze is straight out in front of us. Pause here for a few breaths to kind of settle in. Some little wiggles sometimes help with that. So we're opening the heart with those shoulders open. We've got a nice little back bend going on in the lower back here. So staying mindful of how this feels for you. Now an option here to keep the hands on the floor, or we can interlace our fingers. Either way, we want our elbows to stay under our shoulders. We're gonna tuck our toes and press into a low plank. So pushing the mat away with the forearms, lifting our body up off the floor. There's a mound on my shoulder blades right now, so we wanna press away, and feel free to invite that rounding through the shoulders. Strong breaths here. And you can always take those knees down to the mat. Let's release the knees now and come back into our Sphinx. We can keep the hands interlaced or press down through the palms. Allow the breath to slow back down. Let's open up the shoulders and the neck here a little bit more, just by shifting our gaze. Turn to look over one shoulder, maybe down towards that same foot. And then turn the gaze back out in front. Same thing on the other side. Let's turn the gaze, drop the chin, look back down that other side of our leg, our body. And then turn the gaze back out in front. We're going to release ourselves down to the floor a bit here and take the hands behind to interlace the fingers behind our back. Reaching the knuckles down towards our feet, we're going to lift our torso, coming into our locust pose. Opening the shoulders here, lengthening the neck, maybe keeping the feet down or maybe lifting the feet, pressing down through the hip bones and into the belly. Try to invite full breath here. It's difficult, we're compressed, but we can fight for it a bit as we're here on the floor. We can lift ourselves away, use the muscles to invite a full breath in. Another breath in, and then an exhale breath release. Bring the forehead to the mat and let the shoulders fall down towards the floor. Keeping the hands where they are, maybe releasing the hands. And settling. Let's start to bring those hands back out in front. Slide back into our Sphinx pose. This time in Sphinx, again, we can stay right here. If this feels good to work with, maybe stay right here and close the eyes and just feel into that opening. If you wish to go a little deeper in this movement, we can bring the hands out to the side of our mat, to the corners, press down and then lift the torso to come up. Just a little bit higher. Stay where that feels good for you. If you're up high, I recommend we work our way back down now. Elbows under shoulders again. We can keep the palms on the floor, interlace those fingers. We're going to come into a little bit more strength here, guys, and then we're good with it. Let's come into our low plank again. Tuck the toes and press up into your low plank. Knees down or knees up. Take a moment here to enjoy. That's what I said, we have to search for those good feeling thoughts sometimes. So maybe we can pretend that we really enjoy the strength and the shake of a low plank. It's okay, we're gonna change it up. So from here, keep the arms where they are, walk the feet in towards the head, and come into your dolphin. So we're dropping the head down towards the floor. We're broadening the shoulder blades. Engage the lats, which are those muscles underneath our armpits. Still pressing the floor away with the forearms, so it's still strong, it's just a little different. Let's walk those feet back again. Return back to our low plank. Drop the hips, knees up or down. From here, we're going to carefully transition up to a high plank. So we can roll into one arm and then into the other. Wrists under our shoulders. We're in our high plank, knees down or knees up. Finding our way into downward facing dog. So we can lift those hips, drop that head, and find our downward facing dog. Some full breaths here. And then we can drop those knees and come into a seated posture. Let's bring the legs out in front. We're going to come into a nice modified pigeon pose today. I'll turn and face the camera here, face the audience. So we're going to bring our legs with one leg to the side of us and one leg out in front. So that front leg we want to align with the side of our mat, whether it's the end or the top or the back, wherever you are. We're going to tilt the pelvis a little bit here, but we want to try to draw that one hip down and keep the hips facing forward. That's the most important aspect of a pigeon stretch. This front leg, whichever one it is for you, we want to flex the foot. So we're going to engage those muscles, and then we're going to walk our torso forward. So bringing ourselves down into this posture a little bit more, keeping the front leg active. Always an option to extend the leg to your side behind you to come into your full half pigeon. Maybe just stay here with it today. Maybe offer a little restraint. Using the breath to slowly release forward a little bit more with each breath. We're getting into that hip. Putting some patience with ourselves in these slower, longer holding stretches. Inviting in supports wherever you feel you need them. Now we can stay right here if this is what feels good for you in this posture. Or maybe, whichever leg you have in front, you want to extend the arm straight and take the other arm to find a little bit of a twist. So I recommend keeping the palms on the floor here. It gives us more control and gives us more grounding to twist and turn towards that front knee. But just something to play with today. When I visualize a practice that feels good, there's a lot of playing going on. A lot of trying different things and just exploring different shapes and different postures in my body. Granted, it's a lot of things that I can't do anymore in my body that I used to be able to do. So it's a good challenge for that thinking part of the practice, the shoulds and the I wish I could still and I'll never be the same. Acceptance, right? Let's untwist if we're in that twist. Bring that other hand back out in front and we're going to walk our way up into our seat again. Shoulders over our hips. We're going to take a little counter twist towards the front leg. So keeping the spine straight, shoulders relaxed down, and turn to gaze over the opposite shoulder. I'll tell you though, I wouldn't trade what I've learned through my yoga practice and what I've become for what I used to be able to do in it. Let's untwist, turn to face forward, and we're going to switch those legs out, but nice and carefully. So just staying mindful of our joints. We can bring the legs out in front for a moment and work our way into that opposite side. So bringing the other leg back and finding that front leg away from the body, parallel to our mat. We're going to flex that front foot, square the hips, and when you're ready, begin to descend. Begin the descent. Begin to walk forward, just slowly working into it. See, all of our injuries or traumas or challenges have offered us growth in the end. So although when we're in those moments or in that injury or in that pain, we know we want to escape it, but at the other side is a whole nother piece of us, a whole nother level of who we are or who we can be. If we wish to invite the twist in here, whatever leg we have in front, we're going to straighten out that arm. Take the other arm underneath it. Palm can stay down here if you wish. And come forward into your twisting variation. Search for that feeling good place. Let's start to come out of our twist if we're there. Begin to work our way back up, shoulders over our hips. Realign and lengthen the spine, and then a gentle twist towards that top leg. Let's untwist. Come to bring those legs back out in front. If you're working on a mat today, we can bring the feet up towards the top of the mat. Get ready to lie on the floor. So if that's removing a hair tie or a bun for you, like it is for me, we can take it out. Let's find our grounding in our seat. Feet stay flat on the floor. We're going to stretch the tops of the ankles into the shins and reach our arms up towards the ceiling. Taking a full breath in here. Let's bring those palms together and exhale. Hands to heart center as we sink back into our boat pose. Thumbs can tap into our heart space. Ground through the feet, ground through the seat, and engage the core. Lengthening the spine. Staying true to that heart space. Let's raise the arms back up towards the ceiling. Take a full breath in and an exhale breath to release down to the floor. Shoulders can come down, head can come down. Let's take those arms and reach them back overhead and press out through the fingertips, press through the toes and lengthen our body. Some nice full breaths in here. Feels good to arrive on our back. And then let's take the arms down to our side. We can relax our feet a bit here. We're going to come into fish pose today, which is always a tricky posture for me to describe and define, but I'm trying to work through it. We're going to keep our palms and our forearms down on the floor, and we're going to bend our knees to bring our feet to the mat so that the toes and the ball of the foot can touch. So now we're going to find an arch through our spine, and I kind of like to do this almost starting up a bit higher and bringing the elbows down below the shoulders. And then we're going to release our head down towards the floor. If it works good for you to work up into this posture from the floor, you're going to come towards the top of your head and open the shoulders and the chest. So if this feels comfortable for you here down low, you can stay here. There's a little bit of pressure on top of the head. Or if it feels better to be up higher and let that head float back and hover, we can do that. But ideally, it's a bit of an inversion, so that head comes down below the heart a bit, and we're opening the belly, opening the heart space. Take another couple breaths here wherever you are. And then we'll work our way back down flat onto our back. So carefully extending the legs and releasing the back of the head back to the floor. Settling in for Shavasana. So finally, at the end of our practice today, we can take the hands to our side, palms up if that feels good, or hands to the belly. Let those feet splay open. Take some full breaths and either settle that gaze up towards the ceiling or close the eyes. Let that exhale breath draw you down towards the floor. So back into a settling, nice, easy, slow breath. Into Shavasana. Try and keep the breath, the body, and the mind soft. When you're ready, beginning to invite some movement through the toes and through the fingers. And just slowly reawakening into our movement in our body, so wrists and ankles, maybe bending through those knees, maybe swaying those legs side to side. Whatever movement feels right and good for you right now. Eventually rolling the legs over towards one side of your body, and we can press ourselves back up into a seated posture, whatever that may look like for you today. Resting the hands down on the thighs, palms down or up, and finding a long spine. Let's pause here again, just in our seat, just to enjoy the way that we feel right now. Feeling good. Bringing your hands to heart center and dropping the chin down towards the chest to honor the light and the wisdom within each and every one of us. I thank you so very much for joining me for some Feeling Good yoga today. I hope that you do feel good, and I hope to see you again in the near future. You guys take care and be good to each other and yourselves.